In this video, I would like to give you some brief introduction and some overview of what is behind the questionnaire design. So, I think what is the most important to begin with is the logic. So, the logic of questionnaire design, because quite often I see and I meet that either at the universities when students get an assignment about to design a questionnaire, or a company decides to make a questionnaire to bring some data to their company, they do not follow this exact logic, and it has got a bad end, a bad outcome. So at the very beginning of every questionnaire should be some problem. Should be some problem. And this is the problem that some manager or some researcher has. So you can imagine it as some simple situation. So let's say this is our world. Here can be our time. Here can be our time. And here can be our level of situation. Level of information. Level of information. And now this manager has got some certain level of information about the situation of his company. But in order to solve this problem, he need to know more. So he would need to increase the level of information or the knowledge that he has. So he would need to be somewhere here. And now your task as a researcher or as a designer of a questionnaire should be to increase, to get him to a higher step of this knowledge of information. So here will be your task. And this is the basic idea of every questionnaire that some people are forgetting, that your questionnaire should bring some relevant data, not something that is not touching the problem, that is outside of our problem. Well, it is nice, but it would be waste of capital and money. The second thing that comes to this logic is then going to be the list of information. So list of relevant information that you would like to know. Information. So that, let's say, you are deciding about your company is producing a coffee, and you are deciding, okay, what prices we should charge, whether we should increase or decrease. And now the list of information can contain, okay, so what are our customers, what is our concurrency. And when you write down this, so you really create some sort of a list, then you are able to decide about the method. And just to highlight, questionnaire is not the only way how to collect the data, so you can choose some other way. But this video is about questionnaires, so let's continue. So when you have decided what do you want to collect, you can already design some questionnaire. So here is some design. But important is to highlight that this questionnaire that you design right over here is just some draft. Just some draft. And you need to test it. So you are going to test it, and then during this test you maybe find some improvements, and thanks to those improvements you can design some final form. So some final form. And this is what you will use and collect the data with. The second part about the questionnaire design I would like to talk about is the data or the kinds of data you are going to collect. So let's draw a small table. It will look something like this, and we are going to have three categories of data: 1, 2, and 3. At first there are going to be who, so this is going to be who, this is going to be what, and finally why. And it is very important to really create some sort of a balance between these three. So between these three we need to create some balance. Some balance. And why is it important? Well, just imagine the data. What you are going to get about the who? You are going to get some characteristics. So here will be some characteristics. About the what, you are going to get what is the behavior or what activities do these people have. So what is the behavior? Behavior. And finally, with why, you are going to discover the attitudes or the motivations. So motivations. And now just imagine these three kinds of data. If you would have too much, let's say, of a who, and you would not have enough of why, what would happen? You really would create a great stratification of your customers. You would know about their behavior, but you wouldn't know why they are doing this. Or let's imagine it the other way around. You would know why or what, you would know what, and you would know why. But you wouldn't know who is doing it. You just know that your customers like to buy these products or that product, and you know that they are buying it because they like the coffee. But you wouldn't know the stratification. You wouldn't know who your customer groups are. So again, you really need to find some balance that is appropriate for your questionnaire in this sort of a design. And finally, what I would like to talk about are some principles that you should follow when you are designing a questionnaire. Well, so we have got a principle right over here. We have got bad example and some improved example. The first principle is use a simple language or simplify wherever it is possible. So bad example would be, what is your frequency of utilization of retail travel outlets? Even I don't understand the question. So make it simple, easy to understand, and say, how often do you visit travel agents? The second idea or the second principle is avoid ambiguity. So, do you play sport very often? That already, even when you do not logically think about it, sound a little bit weirdly. So improved version would be very simple and plain. Have you played any of the following sports within last 4 weeks? And there would follow some list of figures that from a multiple choice question a respondent can pick. And finally, avoid some leading questions. And this is I would say the most important one that happens quite often is that you are leading your respondent to answer already before, or you are biasing your data already before the answers. So are you against the extension of airport? You can see, are you against? And well, your respondent is much likely to say, I am really against the extension of the airport. Whereas the improved version would be, what is your opinion on the extension of the airport? And maybe finally, one last point that I would like to talk about is that when you are going to design your questionnaire, you should think about the coding of data. So finally, coding. You can imagine that your data, maybe you are going to have 10,000 information that you are going to collect, which is not that much actually. And now just imagine how you are going to evaluate them. You need to put them into some sort of a table. So you will have some tables, maybe in your Excel, and those are going to be your columns and rows. And now you would like to work with them somehow. So this is your table. If all your answers would be, we call these kind of questions open-ended, open-ended, it would be, or if they would be multiple choice, it would be very hard for you to evaluate the data because open-ended questions would include some answers that are hard to code. You cannot say that, okay, the answer for, let's say, how often do you visit travel agents? The answer would be every week, every week. From someone else it would be every month. And you cannot say it with numbers. So you cannot say 1, 2, 4. You would need to have some numbers that you can work with in your database. So that is why it is sometimes better to have something called pre-coded questions. So pre-coded, coded. And you really can imagine with a pre-coded questions that you have some question stated, then there is a question mark, and you have got some choices. You can pick this one, this one, this one, or this one, and then in your database you will have nicely organized data. So you will have numbers 1, 4, 5, 7, with which you can work with. You can run some statistical tests. So this was the beginning or the introduction about the questionnaire design. Think about the logic, think about the level of information that the manager would like to achieve, then about the balance among the different types of data, about the principles you should follow, and finally about the coding, that your questionnaire should be easily to code and evaluate.